everybody? I want to welcome you back to Knicks Daily, baby. I'm your host, Sheer. You already know we are first to many and second to no one when it comes to the news, the team views, and who's who connected to our New York Knicks. Listen, I just wanted to hop on here and catch up because it's been like a full week. We endured, what was it, a 3-4 game losing streak. And, we got a nice win in Toronto last night to get us back on track. And it's still a little feel good. Sometimes the temperature of the Knicks fan is just interesting to see. It's funny to see when you step back and you observe how we deal with adversity, all right? I'm the wrong person that anyone who is a self-doubter, anyone who is not necessarily as confident, when the times get hard, I'm the wrong person to be around. I'm an eternal optimist. I'll be in the middle of the chaos thinking, you know what? I'm super present of what's happening right now, and that's a good thing. I'm always glass half filled. So I say that to say this. It was a good win to get back on track against the Toronto Raptors. I made a video about just the state of the bench, and I was able to watch a clip by our guy, Alan Hahn. And he did put some things in perspective. And to your credit, many of the Knicks fans who were out there really just talking about the fact that we don't have a bench. He's absolutely right. But Alan Hahn pointed it out and it put into perspective with me because I was saying, I believe we can win with what we have. I believe that we are going to be a little bit more deep. Once we get Mitch back, it'll more than likely push Jay Hart back to the bench. Then we'll be looking at Jay Hart, Miles McBride, Shamet. These bench players will now have more experience, even the rookies. You still got to understand they're adjusting to life in the NBA. It's not just about being minutes. Some games and some weeks, they're down in the G League. So it's a matter of, am I going to be traveling with the team? Am I going to be staying home, playing in Westchester? What does this traveling life look like now that I'm 19, 20 and in the league? I'm this young guy and there's a lot of older people. It's an adjustment on and off the court. And I think sometimes we lose sight of that as Knicks fans. I'm a big Thibs fan. I see the minutes. I understand the concerns. But once again, I'm also a fan who grew up watching 90s basketball. And I don't wish the level of ice bags that were strapped to Patrick Ewing's knees on nobody. But the same thing could be said when you had the player who was the greatest of all time and most of his peers throughout that era playing full 82 game seasons and then playing in the playoffs and then repeatedly winning championships. So it's hard to sell that to me, especially in a league where your superstar professes all of the modern day technology that is responsible for him extending his career to close to 20 years. So you can't have one without the other. And I say that with confidence because the New York Knicks have already begun switching the narrative and changing the perception about what do you need to win. So you might have a case also if you have a team that has athletic players. And you talk about the wear and tear that takes on their body if they're high flying and dunking like Derrick Rose was, or like John Morant is, or like Zion Williamson is. We have a team now who's really their games are based on skill and IQ. So it's a different way of playing. And if you listen to it, I believe it was either Karl Anthony Towns or Josh Hart who talked about players who play them high level of minutes, they don't practice. So you see the style of basketball we're playing and they don't practice. They'll have opportunities to practice when they have stretches of time off. But those starters do not participate in the practices during the off days. They use that time to recover their bodies. But the Alan Hahn video clip that he talked about was simply saying, when you trade for a player like Karl Anthony Towns, this is what happens. You send out a player and you lose your depth in exchange for a superstar. And he's been every bit of it. Like he talked about, if you had the chance to do it all over again, you do it 5 days a week and 2 times on the weekends. And I agree. But I say that to kind of say, Knicks fans, at this point in time, with Tom Thibodeau being here for what, at least 3 years now, y'all gotta recognize the patterns. This is how it goes. Over a period of an 82-game season, these are the ebbs and flows. And around this time of year, it has been the case that you have stretches where, you're going to lose some games. What you have to put into perspective is this is the first time we've lost 2 in a row. That carried on into this 3 to 4 game losing streak. It was the first time we had lost back-to-back games all season. We were 20-10. You know what I mean? So, and we haven't been that in how many years? So the fact that you guys will be willing to jump off of a cliff the first moment that adversity is detected, you got to get used to what's happening. We have a culture of winning now. So you got to endure the ups with the downs. Okay? So I definitely wanted to say that. I wanted to give shout out to Han. He's right. He says that he don't necessarily see us in position to compete for a championship this year. It is like a 2 to 3 year process. He may be right with that as well. I believe we do. If you can, check out the video that I made that compares the New York Knicks to the 2019 Toronto Raptors. And I was able to go back and just do a little bit of research. It was surface level, but I was able to do a little bit of surface level research on the Toronto Raptors that year that they traded for Kawhi Leonard. And during that year, they absolutely had ups and downs. First off, they had traded for a superstar who had problems with the team doctors in San Antonio. And the team doctors in San Antonio had problems with the injury history of Kawhi Leonard. So that was one. So Toronto really didn't know what they were getting. And also Toronto had a player who had an option to opt out at the end of the season. So this was a 1 year rental. So they was throwing everything at it. They traded the depth, and they also traded the best friend of the other current star that was on the team. So now you're looking at a possible chemistry challenge because the star that's currently on the team is mad with the front office, doesn't know how to receive the incoming star. How is this going to turn out, And then you had a slew of role players who had an opportunity to step their game up. But you also had a team who made a mid-season trade. They made a mid-season trade for Marc Gasol, and some depth help. So I say that to say, keep an eye on what Leon Rose is doing. Leon Rose, you hear the chatter now for a player like not Marcialonis, the center with a European name. His name escapes me right now. I apologize. But keep an eye on that because he is a player in the same type of mold as a Marc Gasol. He's not athletic. He is a big body, super good in the paint, offensive minded. So for them, and keep your eyes on that. We are not trading Mitchell Robinson. I'm sorry to rain on your parades. But if you think about that Toronto Raptors team, they had Serge Ibaka. They had a Pascal Siakam. So Pascal Siakam is more offensive minded, but he did play defense. And you had Serge Ibaka, who was defensive minded. But then they brought in Marc Gasol, who had offense and was a starter level player. So no matter the lineup, that interchangeably their coach was able to integrate and put out there on the floor, they could meet whatever the opposing offense was presenting to them. And that's what the New York Knicks are trying to do. Keep Mitchell Robinson so you have your defensive rotation that you put out there. And then you want to bring in a player who has an offensive touch around the basket. So even if you send out Sims, whoever you're going to get back, that's going to be how many looks can you put out there for the opposing offenses and the challenges that they're going to present. So if you look at the video, there are a lot more similarities between the 2019 Toronto Raptors and the New York Knicks. And the one thing that really stood out that I was super, excited about seeing the connection with is the fact that the season is unpredictable. the healthiest teams throughout the season with the highest, wins ratio can be the team that experiences an injury anywhere along the way, shortly before the playoffs, during the playoffs, in the NBA Finals. And that can turn the tables. Nobody ever remembers the fact that KD went down with the calf injury. The fact that Klay Thompson went down with the knee injury. Nobody remembers that. They just remember the Toronto Raptors overcoming the odds. They remember Drake being there like, we're number one, or acting a fool as the second coach on the sideline. They remember that. Nobody remembers the injuries that they had to have as an example of luck that helped them get to that point. And that's what I'm relying on. This is sports. This happens in the blink of an eye. A team that's been at the forefront. I don't wish this on any team. Cavs look super good, but there is no juggernaut. There's no juggernaut in the East. There's no juggernaut in the East. So before the midpoint of the season, for people to look at what they currently see in front of them and say Knicks ain't winning it this year. Look, prior to that losing streak that we had, they were predicting the Knicks to be the team to beat in the East, and saying that OKC in New York is a I was saying that at least is a finals preview. I still believe that. I still believe that the finals matchup will be the New York Knicks and the Oklahoma City Thunder. All right? But once again, that's my eternal optimist popping out. This is what you get on Knicks Deli, damn it. Sheer Stradamus. I'm calling it. Just like I said, the New York Knicks will win an NBA championship in the year 2024. I'm including this year because it's part of the 2024-2025 season, which is why my stance on winning the championship is as it is, okay? But I'm excited for it. So tonight, I believe it's tonight or this Saturday, I got to check it again. But we are matched up again with OKC. Even in that first matchup, you have to be impressed with how we played them. You got to be impressed with how we played them. Yeah, they were down Chet. Yeah, they were down a player or two, just like we were. But you play with the people you have rolled out. You go to war with the people you have on the roster who's ready and able-bodied to go. And something you can guarantee about Thibs is going to have 99% of the time his play is up and ready to play no matter who's on the floor. No matter who's on the floor. So, Knicks fans, vote. Let's get these New York Knicks in the All-Star game, whether they're starting or they're coming off of the bench. But keep hope alive. We do need the players who are in the category that they're super realistic. This is what it is, delusional, whatever have you. Then you need the Delulu, dudes like me who are gonna be there sitting there looking at you sideways like, nah, man, are we trying to come to a parade sit in front? Like you was there, like you was shooting with us in the gym. So ultimately that's what it is. Got more videos. I hope you're enjoying the videos and the clips that I'm putting out. Back on my grind, baby. 2025, it's time. It's time to be consistently in the room. I want my table. I want to call the room. That's my table. That's my room over there. Yeah, that's my chair, in this Knicks content creator universe. So check me out. Leave your comments below. Subscribe to the channel. And yeah, let's go Knicks, baby. Stick with the team, man. Tom Thibodeau teams always play their best basketball after the All-Star break, when teams have an opportunity to get rested up. And ladies and gentlemen, we are a few weeks away from February, and the All-Star break is here. The first part of the season has gone by so quickly because we've been winning. So they will have times when they can get a rest. Unfortunately, if they all make the All-Star game, they're going to be busy in a different way, so I don't know how much rest they'll be able to get. But it's not intensive basketball-related activities that puts the stress on their body. So they will have an opportunity to breathe and to heal up a little bit, okay? And also something else that's cool is the New York Knicks seem to be finding unique ways to get those starters or those players who are playing heavy minutes rest. So, you saw Josh Hart have a day where he was scratched from the game and he sat out. Another day where Jalen Brunson was scratched from the game and he sat out. Whether it's because of calf injury or soreness or or unspecified reasons. If they were to say it's a rest day, then Adam Silver will be calling the New York front offices and they get in trouble and they get fined. So the New York Knicks, when they're putting this out, y'all complaining about, oh, looks in the breakdown. I mean, I see Karl Anthony Towns reaching at his knee. So we don't want to play that game. I think you're right as well when you look at him and be like, he's trying to be tough because he's under Thibs and everything. But, I remember having a coach that, told me, he was just like, yo, are you injured or you hurt? And I'm down at the ground looking at this mother flipper like, what does that mean? He said, are you injured or are you hurt? And at that point, while I'm trying to process, I'm spending more time sitting here thinking about his question, and I don't feel the pain anymore. And I was just like, I'm getting up. So I think sometimes Tom Thibodeau pushes his players based on what the medical team is telling him to just say, listen, are you injured or are you hurt? It's the responsibility of the athletes as well, though, to let them know because they know their body's best. Did something have I felt before? No. So you need to pull me. It's not about being tough. Also, don't underestimate the impact of the narrative that Knicks fans had about Karl Anthony Towns. Karl Anthony Towns may not be admitting the level of pain that he's enduring because Knicks fans' narrative before he got here was that he's soft. So he's doing everything in his power to push through to prove that to New York that he's a tough player, he's not soft. So we'll keep an eye on that as well. Keep this in mind. Same thing applies to the team. That applies to our life. If there's no struggle, there's no progress. And remember this, whether it's out there in the real world or here in these YouTube streets, here in Knicks Deli, everybody eats, baby. I'm your boy, Shia, and I'm out. Peace.